It's been like forever since I last came to you all with the message of inspiration. So today I was on my way to work and I try to listen to now, probably today I started listening to Streetlights. If you haven't heard of it, it is a Bible recording over like hip hop beats. And so I've started listening to a chapter a day so that I'm filled with my word of God, and that becomes a particular chapter and book that I focus on throughout the day so that I could develop more with my studying and reading. And so as I was listening to Ephesians 6, Paul was telling that he was in chains, and for that he was an ambassador for Christ. And in those chains, he was still working. And immediately it came to my mind that so many times we go through things in life, so many times we're in bondage to pain and bondage to situations, that we allow those things to hinder us from being able to move in God. We allow those things to prevent us from still being used by God. And here Paul was in prison and he was still spreading the word of God. So many times we have shut down and not allowed God to use us because of us trying to be God within our situations of either casting our own judgment or feeling as though we don't have the power, which in fact us being in bondage leads to us being more dependent on Christ than being dependent on ourselves. And then it blew my mind that it was like, man, no wonder we get into situations. No wonder we're placed in those times where we have to stand still and we can't move the way we want to move. It's because God has to remind us that he is God. God has to show us that we are incapable of doing things on our own, that ultimately he's the one that has to work through us and allow doors and situations to be open for us to be able to operate fully. Here Paul was getting ready to die the way in which he once killed people. And through the transformation in which Christ made in his life, Paul found himself experiencing the very bondage that he put others in, but God still used him. God allowed his mouth to be a vessel or pathway for other people to be introduced. God can transform any situation. The issue is that we put on blinders and hinder God when it becomes like a two-sided fence, that one minute God is so powerful, all-knowing, can make a way, but when we're in struggles, we find other things to become our God because of our faith not being holistically in God. Dare to be different in a world full of copycats. It's time that we not allow ourselves to be shut down because of being self-dependent, but we be empowered by those chains. If you think about it, if you had chains and you kept lifting them up, especially if they're heavy, some of us have more chains than others, but we just keep lifting them up while we're still in bondage. We still are developing strength. We're developing spiritual muscles that enables us to eventually break free of those things, not because of our own power, but because of the power of God.